Ah, Argentina. A country known for its passionate football fans, mouth-watering steaks, and of course the tango. A country where the Andes meet the Pampas, where glaciers touch jungles, and where passion isn't just a word, it's a way of life. But have you ever wondered why it's called Argentina? Is it named after a famous general, a legendary king, or did someone just like the way it sounded? Before we start, no te olvides de dejar un like y suscribirte al canal, or don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Yes, I know my Spanish isn't polished. To understand Argentina's name, we need to go back to the time of Spanish exploration in the early 16th century. When Spanish conquistadors arrived in the region, they heard rumors of a land rich in silver. Now, if there's one thing Europeans loved in the 1500s, it was shiny things. So naturally, they set out to find this supposed silver-filled paradise. The Spanish named this region Tierra Argentina, which translates to land of silver, inspired by the Latin term argentum, which indeed is why silver's chemical symbol is Ag on the periodic table. The funny thing, the country didn't actually have that much silver. The conquistadors were basically chasing a myth, like a bunch of 16th century treasure hunters convinced they'd find El Dorado, but instead, they just found llamas and angry indigenous warriors. Even though they didn't find as much silver as they hoped, the name stuck. And over time, the surrounding territory became known as La Argentina, or simply Argentina. So, yes, Argentina is named after a metal it didn't really have, the world's most ambitious case of wishful thinking. Long before the Spanish arrived, Argentina was home to indigenous groups like the Mapuche, Guarani, and Diaguita, each with rich cultures and traditions. In 1516, Spanish explorer Juan Díaz de Solís arrived. Colonization followed, and by the 1700s, Buenos Aires had become a bustling trade hub. In between the 70s and 80s, Argentina was under a brutal military dictatorship. The Dirty War saw thousands of people disappear, and to this day there are families still searching for answers about their missing loved ones. In 1816, Argentina declared independence from Spain, although civil wars, internal divisions, and power struggles defined its early years. Then, several economic crises. Argentina has a history of economic collapses, currency devaluations, and sky-high inflation. In fact, if you ever visit Argentina, don't be surprised if the price of your coffee doubles in a week. It's just part of the experience. For all its conflicts and challenges, Argentina also has a long legacy of progress and innovation. It was one of the first Latin American countries to adopt universal public education in the 19th century, thanks to leaders like Domingo Faustino Sarmiento, who saw education as the key to national development. Argentina was also an early adopter of universal suffrage and has had a vibrant history of women's political leadership, from Eva Perón's advocacy to Cristina Fernández de Kirchner, the nation's first elected female president. Argentinian culture isn't something you learn, it's something you feel. Of course, football isn't not just a sport here, it's practically a religion. Streets shut down during big matches, friendships are tested over club loyalty, and the name Messi is whispered with the kind of reverence usually reserved for saints. Then, there's tango. Argentina's world-famous dance born in the backstreets of Buenos Aires. It's dramatic, elegant, and full of emotion. One minute it's a love story, the next it's a heartbreak set to music. If passion had footwork, it'd be called tango. Now head inland and you'll meet the gauchos, Argentina's answer to cowboys. They're not just historic folk heroes, they're living symbols of independence and toughness. Dressed in wide-brimmed hats and bombachas, they still roam the pampas, keeping old traditions alive with pride. Argentina is also deeply artistic, where literature, cinema, and visual arts all thrive here. Jorge Luis Borges, the literary wizard of surreal storytelling, made Argentina a global name in literature. Today his influence echoes through bookstores tucked in every corner of Buenos Aires. And speaking of the capital, the city itself is a cultural mosaic, European elegance fused with Latin American soul. You'll find French-style architecture, Italian espresso bars, and Spanish plazas, all in one city block. It's the kind of place where street performers share sidewalks with philosophers arguing politics. But perhaps the most defining part of Argentine culture is connection, sharing yerba mates in a park, dancing in a crowded milonga, debating politics at midnight cafes. It's expressive, intense, and impossible to fake. Argentina's culture doesn't whisper, it sings, it shouts, it dances right up to you, inviting you want to join in. Although the abundance of a precious metal was a myth, Argentina has produced some of the most precious and legendary figures in history. Some were heroes, others were controversial, but all left their mark. José de San Martín, the liberator of Argentina, Chile, and Peru. If you visit Argentina, you'll see statues of this guy everywhere. He's basically the country's biggest historical icon. In the fields of science and medicine, Argentina has produced several Nobel Prize winners. Notably, Luis Federico Leloir and Bernardo Houssay made groundbreaking contributions to biochemistry and physiology, impacting the world. Eva Perón, or Evita, the First Lady of Argentina who became a beloved figure among the working class. If you've heard the song Don't Cry for Me, Argentina, yep, that's about her. You also have to mention Che Guevara. Yes, the famous revolutionary who became an international symbol of rebellion was born in Argentina. His face is on more t-shirts than any rock star in history. Also, of course, Lionel Messi and Diego Maradona, two of the greatest football players ever, both from Argentina. You can't simply spell football without these names. Not literally, of course. If there's one thing Argentina takes seriously, it's sports, and by sports I mostly mean football. But let's not forget, they've got talent across the board. Argentina passionately lives football. This is the land of El Pibe. The 1986 World Cup victory is famous for Diego Maradona's Hand of God goal, which remains one of the most controversial yet legendary moments in football history. Imagine if VAR existed back then, and now, Lionel Messi, a global superstar, magician with the ball, and finally, just like Maradona, also a World Cup champion as of 2022, and you can't forget some of the most passionate fans in the world. From Boca Juniors to River Plate, club rivalries are fierce and colorful, filling stadiums with songs, flags, and fiery chants. But football is just one part of Argentina's athletic soul. Tennis is another sport where Argentina punches above its weight. Gabriela Sabatini was a fan favorite and Grand Slam champion, known for her grace and power. On the men's side, players like Juan Martín del Potro captured the US Open title in 2009 and defeated legends like Federer and Nadal. Argentina also shines in field hockey, especially in the women's game. Las Leonas, the national women's field hockey team, have won multiple Olympic medals and World Cups, becoming icons of female sport in Latin America. In rugby, the national team, Los Pumas, have developed a tough, respected reputation. Their third-place finish in the 2007 Rugby World Cup shocked the world, and their inclusion in the Rugby Championship with New Zealand, Australia, and South Africa solidified their status as a rugby powerhouse. From motorsports to boxing, polo to volleyball, Argentina plays hard, trains smart, and competes with the kind of intensity only Argentinians can bring. Argentina doesn't just love sports, it breathes them. Argentina's military has played a central and often controversial role in the country's history. In the 19th century, the armed forces were instrumental in gaining independence from Spain and expanding national territory. Conflicts like the War of the Triple Alliance, fought alongside Brazil and Uruguay against Paraguay, and the conquest of the desert were pivotal in shaping Argentina's borders, but also left lasting scars, especially among indigenous populations. The 20th century brought a more turbulent chapter. A series of military coups interrupted democratic rule, culminating in the 1976-1983 dictatorship, a period now remembered for the Dirty War, when thousands of citizens were disappeared, imprisoned, or killed. Then came the Falklands War, or Guerra de las Malvinas, in 1982. Argentina invaded the British-controlled islands, claiming sovereignty. The war ended in defeat, but it also triggered the collapse of the military regime, opening the door to democracy. Today, the Argentine armed forces operate under strict civilian control and focus on peacekeeping missions, disaster relief, and border defense. The trauma of past abuses has made transparency and accountability key pillars of modern military policy. Here's something you probably didn't know. Argentina was the first country in the world to broadcast a radio program. Yep, before the internet, before television, And before people started arguing on Twitter, Argentina was already ahead of the game in mass communication. On August 27, 1920, a group of medical students from Buenos Aires set up a tiny radio station and broadcasted an opera performance. This marked the world's first radio broadcast, long before radio became a mainstream form of entertainment. Argentina basically gave the world the gift of talk shows, music on demand, and, unfortunately, radio commercials. This pioneering move helped shape Argentina's deep connection with radio culture, which remains strong to this day. Even in an era dominated by streaming and podcasts, traditional radio still holds a special place in Argentine society, with millions tuning in daily to hear news, sports, and the latest trending tango hits. And you can't talk about Argentina without mentioning the food, and let me tell you, this country takes meat to another level. Start with asado, a social barbecue that's less a meal and more a weekly ritual. Thick steaks, ribs, sausages, all grilled over wood and fire with precision and pride. Pair it with chimichurri, a tangy, garlicky herb sauce that turns good meat into greatness. There's empanadas, little pockets of dough filled with beef, chicken, or cheese. Baked or fried, they're Argentina's ultimate comfort food. Milanesa is a breaded, fried cutlet, an Italian import that became a local favorite. And let's not forget the humble yet potent yerba mate, a strong herbal tea sipped through a metal straw called a bombilla. You don't just drink it alone, you pass it around in a circle, and refusing it is kind of like saying, "I don't like you." Oh, and choripan, a grilled chorizo sausage tucked into crusty bread and topped with chimichurri sauce. It's the go-to street snack after a football match, a concert, or honestly any day that ends in day. And to drink, Malbec. Grown in the Andes foothills, this bold, unique red wine has put Argentina on the global wine map. And if you have a sweet tooth, don't forget dulce de leche, which is basically milk caramel. A sweet, creamy caramel that goes on everything from toast to desserts. Whether it's fire-roasted meats or creamy desserts, Argentina serves up bold, comforting flavors that feel like home, if your home also had a deep love affair with beef and pastry. If you're thinking about exploring Argentina, you're in for a wild ride of natural beauty, urban energy, and rich culture. But like any trip, knowing where to go and where to avoid makes all the difference. Here are some must-visit places. Buenos Aires. The capital is alive with tango, historic neighborhoods like San Telmo, the colorful La Boca, and the Grand Recoleta Cemetery, where Eva Perón rests. Iguazu Falls, one of the most jaw-dropping natural wonders in the world. Located on the border with Brazil, it's a thundering wall of water surrounded by lush jungle. Patagonia, head south for glaciers, dramatic mountains, and pure wilderness. El Calafate and El Chaltén are perfect for hiking and glacier treks. Mendoza, a wine lover's paradise. Famous for Malbec, it offers scenic vineyards with the Andes as your backdrop. Bariloche, a lakeside town with a Swiss feel, great for skiing in winter or hiking and chocolate in summer. But there are also certain places to be cautious or avoid. Mainly certain areas of Buenos Aires at night. While most tourist zones are safe, some neighborhoods and parts of La Boca can be risky after dark. Stick to well-lit populated areas and use official taxis or ride apps. Remote regions like Patagonia and the Andes are stunning, but without a guide, the terrain can be unforgiving. Always travel with a local guide or clear information. Border towns with Paraguay and Bolivia, like in Salta or Formosa provinces, may have safety or transport issues, especially if you're not familiar with the region. Argentina is a country born from silver dreams, built on resilience and powered by passion. From tango in the streets of Buenos Aires to football in the barrios of Rosario, a country that moves, plays, sings, and stirs the soul. Its history is layered, its people intense, its culture unforgettable. What surprised you most about Argentina? Was it the history behind its name, the delicious food, or the numerous legends? Would you visit? Or if you have already visited, tell us your experience in the comments. And if you love this journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell before a tango dancer with a Messi shirt shows up at your door. Nos vemos, che, y no se vayan sin dejar el like al video. That means see you, mate, and don't leave without dropping a like to the video. I think I said that right. If not, blame the empanadas.